Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Better Opinion. We have a backlog, so I'm going to assume that this topic today will no longer be relevant by the time this video comes out. Very cool. But I am your host, Kevin. I am joined once again by my stalker and co-host, Mansur. Mansur, I saw you outside my house last night, and now I see you here today. How's it going?
It's not illegal. It's not illegal to do this. I just happen.
His first response is it's not illegal.
Well, I just happen to have business in front of your house. Okay,
For 3 hours?
Listen. I'm a very busy person
I mean, you were just sitting in your car
doing business.
with binoculars looking at my house.
Listen, there was important things.
I have photos of this.
Listen,
I did report it to the police.
I would enjoy it if you did not. It's like, please discontinue. There's nothing to worry about, really.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, it's non-harmful. It's like not related to you at all. It's just your house specifically, your room,
like my room, like
while you're in it,
while I'm in it,
but it has nothing to do with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Purely coincidence.
Yeah.
Wow. But we're here today not to talk about your strange obsession with me, but rather our mutual strange obsession with video games. And you were talking about Silksong before we turned on the camera, so why don't we continue that? Why don't you start over for the sake of context?
Well, it's interesting that Silksong came out very abruptly to many surprise and happiness. And two controversies seemed to happen. One, some gamers thought the game was a bit too hard.
Gamers.
Some people who play games.
Some gamers.
Video game players.
Yeah, I hate those guys.
Yeah. I would.
Fuck gamers, that's what I say.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Please, I want to have more sex.
Yes.
So some people were upset about...
Some people were upset about the difficulty. And some publishers were upset that it came out at a time where they were planning to release.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. Anyway,
for them.
Those people aren't interested. Let's go to the difficulty part, which is kind of...
The difficulty thing is interesting. I've had multiple friends in my immediate vicinity be of two minds. I've had one person who has played most of the game and the entire way through complained about the difficulty. Mostly difficulty, not that it was challenging, but difficulty like you're in Hollow Knight, the first game, and you're fighting the first boss, and its hits all hit you for 1 health, and you have, I don't know, let's say 4 health, right? And then Silksong, you're fighting the first boss. I mean, I'm not saying first boss, but like early boss, and all of its hits are for 2 health, and you have 4 health, right? So it's like mechanically you just have less health. Because all of the bosses just do more damage, or a boss. And I watched it. Like I watched my other friend who didn't complain and likes the game, has no complaints. That still thing happened, right? I'd watch like not even really a boss, just sort of like a mini boss, to hit him, and there was like no chance to heal, no chance to anything. Really wide arcs, poor telegraphs. Now I want to say like, whether someone agrees or disagrees with me about like whether it's good telegraphs or whatever, I don't really care. I have no dog in this fight. I thought Hollow Knight, the first game, was fine. I never finished it. Not because I thought it was bad. It's just Metroidvanias has never really been my thing. I've played a lot of them and I never really finished them. I think Ori and the Blind Forest was the only one I ever finished. So
that was a very good game.
It's very visually appealing.
It also feels very satisfying to just move around in that game.
Yeah, it's very, very fun, but not a hard game.
Yeah. I don't know how much to complain a bit on the Silksong because I haven't played it yet. I've played the first Hollow Knight, and we've talked about difficulty before. The thing I like that's difficult in a game is if there are like clear problems and I have to perform an action that I've done before very well. That's fun and satisfying to me. But if it does the same thing that Dark Souls kind of does in the future where things become a bit harder to just parse
Right.
I can kind of agree where it's not fun because difficulty in and of itself, it's not supposed to be a thing that is used against the player. It's supposed to be something that makes the game more fun for you. You are more used to the mechanics of the game.
So I think what you mean is it's not that it's not meant to be, because obviously difficulty is a direct challenge to the player.
It is a direct challenge to the player, but it's not meant to be. In my head,
it's not meant to be abusive.
It's not
meant to be entertaining.
There are games that go against that. It's like meant to just be, I'm gonna just make you miserable playing this game and you're a loser. But I think for the most part, when you create a video game, the difficulty is not meant to be a you suck player. It's meant to be, look, player, you are more used to the mechanics now than you were at the beginning of the game.
And therefore, it's harder now to keep the challenge.
So that you can continue to either get better or you now feel like you are actually using the tools that you have learned along the way.
Yeah, I think so. I say this as an observer because I haven't played the game and I probably never will. I'm not really interested in Hollow Knight. First Hollow Knight was fine. I don't actually have any complaints. I remember where I got to is, do you remember like the warlock guy?
I think
you go through like a manor type area and then you fight this big round guy who's like a warlock.
Yeah.
I fought him. It was fine. It was a good fight.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, well, I just played for 5 hours. Don't think I'm going to play anymore today. And then I just never turned it back on.
Yeah.
And that's like, if someone said, well, what was your problem with it? And I was I just didn't feel a desire to continue playing. And so it's not. So I guess the reason I'm qualifying this so much is people make a lot of assumptions. I didn't finish Hollow Knight, but I can't tell you that there was anything wrong with it that made it that way. It's just I had enough. I was like, all right, I've experienced enough. I'm no longer feel the desire to play this game.
Yeah. I also didn't feel like I cared too much about the story.
Yeah, I was not invested. I don't even remember what the story of Hollow Knight is, and I don't really care.
I don't even remember if there was much of one. But it's a nice game.
I think it deserved its success.
Oh, I think it's very interesting in how it used minimal platformer mechanics to make a more difficult combat system. I think that was very cool.
But like watching people play Silksong, I see what people mean.
Yeah.
It definitely, you know what it reminds me of? 0 days since Dark Souls mentioned. It reminds me of the way that Souls games have progressed, right? Like when you look at Demon Souls, when you look at Dark Souls, and then you look at Dark Souls 3, there are these lessons that the developers learned. And it was like in an attempt to continue to keep the game fresh to the people who play it too much, they have hyper-focused on things that are the only thing left to challenge those people now that it's not new. When you first played Demon Souls, no game like it existed. So the difficulty was surprising to everyone. Now, if you take someone who has played every Souls game and introduce them to Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls, it's let's say they played every other Souls game except Dark Souls, and then they play Dark Souls. Other than it being janky in some areas, they would probably bowl over it because it's just not as fresh. They know what they're doing already, right? Nothing's going to surprise them. I think that in an attempt to say, well, the people who are going to play Hollow Knight Silksong, essentially Hollow Knight 2 for all intents and purposes, they already have played Hollow Knight. So, and people loved it because it was hard. So we need to keep that. And then they play tested it and they're like, oh, I beat this easily. So it needs to do more damage or something like that.
I think that's actually what happened for a lot of it, is that you have these developers who have played the game a ton, understand the mechanics so much, and then when they play test it, it's very easy because, well, you've coded and you know how everything works. You are not.
Well, and you also played your first game.
You also tested your first game, but understanding the general mechanics of how a boss works is such a. I don't think developers understand how much of a buff that gives you compared to the average.
You're just going in understanding.
You understand the boss's mechanics to a level no player will ever have, except for maybe a speedrunner.
I think a good example is I recently played A Hat in Time, and there's a boss in there that none of the bosses are hard, but there was a boss in there that was very long, and I failed at it a couple times just because there's little things you have to do that I just didn't know I needed to do those at first, so I took too long. So then once I had gone through it and knew I need to do this, and then at this phase do this, and at this phase do this, 1 minute. Like I blew through it. But the thing that made me take so long to beat it was that each new phase, I tried to do the thing I did in the last phase, but actually it's a little different now. And I didn't know, I need to pop the bubble to get the bomb and then throw the bomb at him.
Yeah.
Right? I thought the bomb was there to trip me up. I didn't know the bomb was a tool.
I'd like to call this the adventure game maker's fallacy or whatever. Something nicer than that name. But it's kind of like in adventure games, you know how the developer obviously had this like idea in mind that they thought, yeah, the player's gonna like know how to like put the hat into the condom and then blow it up and then he'll use it as like a mask to get past the blind guy or whatever. It's like,
you need masks for blind people. That's how they see you.
Yeah.
As if you don't have a mask on.
I remember this in like Grim Fandango. It's like I was in this one section where you have to pick up a sign, put it somewhere so that spinned, went down so that you went to a garage. And you knew this because at the beginning there was a cutscene of a car driving by, the sign spinning, then pointing to a place. I didn't get that at all.
Well, puzzles are difficult. As someone who runs D&D, and I like making puzzle dungeons, those are my favorite, it can be very sink or swim. You can have a puzzle that you think, oh man, I feel like this is too difficult. They could sit on this for hours. And then someone just goes, aha, right away and solves it in 2 seconds. And you're like, wow, the rest of the party didn't even get to engage with it. And then another one, you're like, they're going to fly through this. And then they're like all mad at you because they still haven't figured it out. And it's like, there's no hint I can give you that won't just reveal the answer. And it can be hard, that balancing act is difficult.
I'm not saying that it's easy, but
knowledge is the key. And the point with the Hat in Time was like, this was not a hard fight. It was just that I went into it with no knowledge of what the mechanics were. And at each phase, the mechanics slightly changed. And so I had to do the fight like 4 times because there were 3 phases. But once I knew all 3 phases, the 4th fight was just biff, bam, boom, like a Batman fight scene.
I guess in some cases, I guess this is a good reason why you probably need some playtesting. And I do think playtesting kind of ruins some games, but there are a lot of cases where I do think it saves a game.
You know what? I've got a super relevant example. Baldur's Gate 3. So one of the things that is the number one complaint I hear from people is that Act 3 has the most stuff and is the worst. And a lot of people complain that Act 2 is very linear, not as interesting. That Act 3 is the worst one. It was the glitchiest one. And people go, well, Act 1 got all the playtesting because they let people play the game. So Act 1 had the most playtesting, so it was the most fleshed out. And it's like, yes, that is true. And people had so Act 1 is like super meaty. There's all this tiny little things because every time people play tested, they realized they got data and they added a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until you have this super complicated, I would say almost 2/5 of the game is all in Act 1.
Yeah.
And it's also the part where you're playing D&D at its worst, which is low level, because at low level you have nothing. You're every class is basically just each other, right? And then you get into Act 2, and Act 2 is it's very crafted. It's also a straight line disguised as a squiggly line. And then you get into Act 3 and you're like, wow, I'm like in a city. I'm in Baldur's Gate. Finally, they said the name of the game. And then it's like, kind of the one that feels like the least tested because they made it linearly. They made the game. It's clear that they made the game linearly, right? They made the first act, then they made the second act, and they made the third act. And so the third act has all this stuff, and it's like not as good as everything else. And I'm sure there's people who disagree with me. They're wrong, because you can like it, and it's still factually just true that like the amount of, I would say, development effort and time was put into Act 1 because it was so heavily play tested. So, play testing can kind of ruin it because if they had let people play test the whole game, then there would have been nothing that was a secret.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because of the playtesting, Act 1 is the best part of the game, and the rest is just falls short.
I wonder if it would have been better if they released it as 3 separate games.
Interesting. That would have been interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I just know that, it's so interesting how consistently when I bring this up, I've had people go, now that I think about it, like I like Act 3, but you're right. And you just feel it. You feel like there's too many storylines trying to conclude at once.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are competing ideas. Like they try to put this stress level by having like time limits on stuff. They have all of these just, I don't know how to describe it.
Loose threads they're trying to kind of glue together.
And then you can also kind of tell that from a writing perspective, it's clear that they wrote the first part of the story and then later wrote how to conclude it, right? And the conclusion is worse than it wasn't as interesting. The actual ending was far less interesting than what happened leading up to it.
Yeah, it was the brain thing I didn't find as interesting. I didn't like that they were kind of pushing you to become what are those, the mind eaters?
Yeah, an illithid. Yeah, a mind flayer.
It's like it felt like you were getting kind of tunneled into this way if you wanted to play as like a decent person. It was like
the best way to play is just to use the illithid powers, but then not become an illithid.
Yeah, it felt like there was going to be consequences if you did it, but
the consequences, you get ugly.
Yeah.
Like, that's about it. But like, regardless, the conversation isn't about that game. The point just is that the best part of the game is the most play tested part.
Because they got a lot of feedback on it. They got a lot of feedback from fans, which is probably the best people you want to get feedback from. People who
are invested in it being successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, you see that even, I think a lot of games suffer from this. MMOs, they always do these betas and these alphas, and it's like the intro of the game is really good and you're really excited, and then you're like mid-level and you're like, why is this zone empty? Why are these quests boring?
Yeah. But it's an interesting issue, and I don't know how you solve it. Because my initial reaction is, well, you kind of split up the release. Like the beginning is this whole release, and then the second part is now in beta.
Right.
Is what like my brain goes to. But is that a good model?
I don't know if it's a good model. What I would probably do is just have more play testers that are not your employees. Find a way, and I don't have the immediate answer because I'm not a game developer, and I don't own these companies, but even like people who do professional play testing, well, they do too much of it.
Yeah.
What you need.
They know too much about games.
Well, they know too much, and it's all they do, and they get bored. So they're just doing it because they have to. They're not doing it because they're really engrossed. So you need to just find a way to let people test the whole game and get that feedback while keeping the masses at bay. I don't know what the solution to that is, but there is one, and it is this is something I always say is people go, well, how do you do that? And I go, well, I don't know, but I don't need to know. All I'm doing is identifying the problem and telling you that you need to find a way of achieving this result somehow. Figure it out.
These companies are getting, like, all these companies more and more like getting Discord communities. They could try to see if they could get more trusted members who they feel like would not as willingly leak things to see if they can play test it just because they're so supportive to the community. They might.
I'm sure there is a solution that would allow you to still not, because people can leak stuff anyway, so it doesn't really matter, right? Like games get leaked all the time by internal staff, but who cares? What if it does get leaked? Like at the end of the day, what's more important, a better product or that some people already have answers?
I think a better product. Honestly,
a lot of people are going to wait until someone else plays the game and finishes the wiki anyway.
Yeah. Honestly, I think people get too mad at leaks or spoilers. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And if they do matter, sometimes I even wonder, well, was it a good product in the first place?
Well, I forgot what it was. It was a mutual friend of ours once told me there's a study done. It was on like movies, and it was they did a study on measuring people's enjoyment of of things of like whether or not it was spoiled or not. So they'd have people like they'd have a test group, watch something and then measure their reaction, and then they'd have other people watch something after they spoiled it for them and measure their reaction. And the result was that on average, people who were spoiled either didn't have their enjoyment level, they reported the same or higher levels of enjoyment. And so I've seen this in my own life. Once I found that out, I started going, do I ever actually care about spoilers? And the truth is, the only time I care about spoilers is in games that are very specific, where the spoiler is actually removed from the game.
Yeah.
And when I say remove, I don't mean, whoa, I'm having a reaction. I mean specifically like Outer Wilds.
Yeah.
Right, where spoilers literally just make the game irrelevant. Like if you know the solution to the game is something you can do. The game's been out for forever. I don't care. I won't say what the solution is, but the solution to the game is something you can do the moment you start the game up. Right? Like if you know the answer, you can just immediately go to the end of the game.
Yeah.
But you won't do that, and instead you will follow the context clues, do the puzzles, read the hints, and explore the world until you eventually get that answer. And that's what makes the game really good, is the puzzles are also the story beats. And to know the story is to know the answer to the puzzles. Don't spoil that, because then there's no game.
Yeah.
Whereas like because even what I said isn't going to tell you the answer. Yeah. I said that you can beat the game from the moment you boot it up. And okay, but that doesn't actually tell you the answer.
Yeah.
And that's not enough of a clue to even figure out what the answer is. So, spoilers, it's usually when people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you told me that this character dies. And I'm like, oh my God, man, you're playing a JRPG. He's an old man with 10 death flags. You already know he's going to die. Please don't. I know you're
oh, my heart.
I'm live streaming. Oh my God, Gluppus is dead. Oh, chat. This is so sad, chat. F's in chat for Gluppus.
Oh, put F to put hand on coffin.
Yeah. The pay respects after pay respects. Like, you don't actually care. Everyone who says they do is lying, because they don't even know themselves well enough. And I'm going to have a bunch of people that go, no, I actually do care. And you're wrong. You're wrong. You don't actually care. You think you care because we've all been incepted to care.
I feel like most of the time you kind of convince yourself that if you didn't know a thing, you'd enjoy something more. I disagree. I think if a story is good enough, spoiler or not, you're going to enjoy it.
Because it's the whole experience that matters more than the result.
Yeah.
I was playing a Tales game when I was a teenager, and someone told me that this one party member I really liked is a bad guy. And at first I was really angry because I was like, well, that ruined it. Now I know he's a bad guy. And then I kept playing the game, and it wasn't until like halfway through that he was actually a bad guy. So I still just played the game normally up till that point. And then when he turned out to be a bad guy, I was much angrier because of everything that happened leading up to it. When I was told that, I didn't even understand how he could be. I didn't trust him yet, right? But then he was like a good guy for so much, and you're like, have all this investment in him. So then when he betrays you, you're like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Then I'm gonna reenact kicking your ass. You know, like you're actually. It didn't ruin it for me at all.
Because story is all about context. The context is what makes you care about what. Because if I just tell you guy dies, that's the end. Why do you get? That's not a story. It's like the guy tried to do something and he died.
In fact, I remember they killed a character in Metaphor. And I knew he was going to die because I was like, well, he's an old man mentor character. And he's got like 5 death flags. He's like got an adopted daughter. Mike, do you need to just clear your throat? You can just cough loudly. Just get it done. Because I'm going to come over there and strangle you to death if I hear you clear your throat one more time.
That's the man with the death flag.
There's the death flag. It's me. It's me killing him. I tried so many times I tried not to have body language. Every time I'd pick it up, I was like... And I was like, okay, all right, how many more times?
So,
do you need to do it again?
Come on.
Because I will come over there. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, that's what I thought. There it is. It's not even that he needs to clear his throat. It's just like after the 30th time, I was like, I'm gonna kill somebody, and then myself.
Sorry.
You know what? You fucking should be sorry. How dare you have a body and have it have like functions?
Yeah, why haven't we turned you into AI yet, Michael?
Yeah, why haven't we replaced him with shit GPT?
Yeah.
No program wants to be trained on me, okay?
But in metaphor, there's this old man.
Yeah.
And he's like an old man mentor character. He's got like, you know, this like adoptive daughter. He's like a single dad. He's got this mother stand-in woman who's like clearly in love with him, you know, and it's very, you're like, oh, he's fucking dead soon. Because everyone else in the party has no investment actually in what's going on. They're all just caught up in the plot. He's the only person who everything going on really matters. So obviously, like, it's preschool writing hour.
Yeah.
So obviously he's the one who's going to die because they think you're going to be invested in him. Except this is like a 60+ hour game, and we're within the first 5 hours. Oh, he died. I remember everyone's like, "What do you think about when he died?" I said, "Well, I saw it coming from a mile away, and I have no investment in him."
I can't believe he didn't say he was going to retire after this last mission.
Yeah,
He
like,
was
I think he did.
oh, damn.
I'm pretty sure that like he wanted to just stay home and take care of his daughter.
Yeah,
but he had to stop this like conspiracy.
This is the final job before.
Yeah, it's something. It's like along those lines, right? And so, you know, and I remember going, why did they let me waste time leveling him up? What a useless character. What a useless use of my time and resources to even care about this guy. And there were mods to keep him in the party like day 3 of the game being out, because people were just like, I hate this. And I remember, you know, I use that as an example, and I've used it as an example many times because, you know, I did it on stream. I played this on stream and I was like, oh, look, he's dead. Called that yesterday. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's going to die. I said that on stream. I said, this guy's going to die. And then I streamed the game the next day and he died. And I was like, there it is.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like, I'm not invested because games, I've said this on this podcast a million times. Everybody's learned the wrong lessons from Game of Thrones. And they all think the best way to make you invest is to kill people. And I go, no, it's not the best way. I'm invested because I hate this guy. And his death will be pleasurable. And I don't really need anything else. I hate him already. I don't need this old man to die to make me hate this guy. I already hate him.
Yeah, I don't. You don't need to shoot the dog. I believe you when you say he's already shot 10 dogs. It's like you just.
Yeah, if you told me this is Lord Evil, the dog shooter, I would be like, wow, I can't believe that guy shoots dogs. And then you're like, oh, by the way, we started doing the game with a dog. We are going to spend 1 hour of the game's total runtime up to when the dog dies, having the character love the dog, and but you pet the dog, and you talk about how great the dog is. And then in a cutscene where your characters could have done, your superpowered characters with godlike abilities
like,
could have done anything to stop the dog shooting. They will instead go, no, while they stand there until the dog is shot, and then they'll jump into action.
It's the Austin Powers, like the fucking Zamboni slowly rolling over. It's like, no, stop!
That's
stop!
exactly what it is.
No, stop! It's like, move out of the way!
just move out of the way. Yeah, it's exactly it. And God, I love that scene. I love Austin Powers. But like, that's exactly what it is. And then you shoot the dog. I'm like, I don't hate him now that he's shot 11 dogs and one of them was mine. I already hated him.
I just don't care about my dog because I knew what you were going to do to him.
Yeah, I knew what was happening when 5 minutes into the game, you had like a Ganon-style introduction with the title screen where it said, you know, Grumby the dog shooter, your Lord Evil dog shooter. And I was like, oh, he shoots dogs. And then the game was like, you know, introduction, your dog, you love it a lot. You would kill everyone and then yourself if they died. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, I wonder what's about to happen in this story.
It's like, he shot my dog? The dog shooter?
I can't believe the dog shooter shot my dog.
It's like watching it happen. It's like, he's not going to do it.
He's not going to do it. He's not going to shoot my dog, right?
Come on, guys.
Come on. Oh my God, he actually did it. I can't fucking believe it. This is basically the greatest writing ever told.
Yeah. They did it the same in like, what is that demon? Is it Demon Slayer or something? The thing everyone's insane about is
I don't know. People are insane about a lot of things.
It's like,
Can you tell me the mechanics, or is it a show?
Well, it's a show.
Okay, there's Demon Slayer's a show.
The beginning of it is like you meet his family, and they're such a happy-go-lucky family. It's like, damn, everyone here's gonna fucking die.
Yeah,
because
you just
this
know
is
it's
not
gonna
because like everyone is a bit too happy in this fucking family for it to be realistic.
One of my favorite things that I don't remember what the anime was. There was an anime I was watching once, and in it, this guy was just like traveling the world, and he seemed really unfortunate. And then for one reason or another, he ended up going home. He met his family, and so they're just like good people with no problems. Like they're like local minor lords of like an area, and like they had like good relationships with the government. Like the tax guy was there and he was friendly and helpful, and there's like no problems. And then he explained his situation and his, amnesia. And they were just like, well, we understand, we love you, and we're here to support you. And then he like left. And that was never like a problem like that. The family didn't die. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that happen before.
Because the family doesn't need to die.
They don't need anything. You don't need anything bad to happen.
The fact that he has amnesia is like bad enough.
It was an interesting plot point to see him find his family and find out that he had amnesia and talk to them about it. And then it turns out that they thought he was dead and they're glad he's alive. And if he needs anything, they're here for him. But they understand.
Yeah, and that I feel like that works more than people would like to admit. But they kind of just go back to like, this.
If I don't make it tragic, will it be good? You know what? It reminds me a lot of storytelling. If you look at really old stories, you have these issues where everything's always the same. But it's like, one of the things that my friend likes to talk about is how there was a time in history where you were not allowed to make like a man like effeminate or like even homosexual seeming. Don't even have to be homosexual, just like that effeminate, right? Whatever. Heroes always had to be like manly, stereotypical jawline, short hair guys. And that was like a thing that like was forced upon you by like the regulatory bodies and stuff like that, right? So, but the thing was you were allowed to make villains be like effeminate or flamboyant, right? They didn't have to be stoic. They didn't have to be cool. They could be whatever you wanted. So what you ended up with is a lot of villains had style. They weren't gay. They weren't homosexual. They were just flamboyant. But that flamboyancy was immediately treated as, well, that's too homosexual. You can't do that on your main character. So main characters wear like generic clothes with nothing. And the evil guy is like slick as fuck with tailored clothes, has a cool cat that he pets all the time, and is like has like flamboyancy and style. And so now, like, everyone's confused why everyone likes the villains, and it's like, well, because it's become a stereotype that villains are cool and heroes are boring, and that all stems from this regulatory thing that happened before we were even born.
That's very interesting because I feel like that's kind of warped into how thieves are written. When they're main characters, they're allowed to be flamboyant because they're not exactly
they're anti-heroes.
Yeah, they're anti-heroes.
Well, I think that's why anti-heroes became the new protagonist, right? Is because people started pushing the envelope with a hero. They say, well, this is someone say, well, this is a hero. No, he's a bad guy. But you're playing as the bad guy. Oh. And so then you get like Illidan, or you get these characters where you empathize with them and you start to understand their story. And then, it's like you said, thief characters. Well, we're not saying thievery is good. You're playing as a thief and thievery is bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's cool as fuck.
Yeah. And him doing the thief stuff is very cool. It's, Oceans, they're bad guys. They're bad guys, but they're very cool when they do it.
Well, the only reason they get to be the heroes is because they're stealing from a worse guy.
Yeah.
They're still committing a crime and it's really bad, but they're doing it to a worse person. So like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And cool as fuck. And they've got like sick style and like awesome class and great zingers. And basically you want to be them, but they're anti-heroes.
Yeah. You shouldn't be like them.
It's not the same as John Hero.
Yeah.
Or Captain Jawline.
Yeah.
Right. But I do think that it's interesting when you look at writing, because that's how that was for a long time, and that's what created a circumstance that we're in. So now, right, we live in a world where to deal with certain cultural norms at the time, standards were created, whether it was because it's like the Game of Thrones thing. You never did that. You never killed off half your main cast. until Game of Thrones did it. That was just not something you did.
Mm-hmm.
It was really shocking if a character died. Now it's like all the time. And that's because that became the new standard, right? So it was pushing against the grain to kill these characters off. Now it's almost pushing against the grain to not do it. You see what I mean?
I know. It's always frustrating because I understand writing is kind of gaining inspiration from previous stories, but at some point I feel like we need to have some originality.
Yeah.
Because it feels like no one ever asks themselves, well, why did I do this, really? Did this really improve on the story? Did having this very obvious, like, gun that was gonna kill someone, what's it called, Chekhov's gun?
Yeah.
It's like, this gun, it's so powerful, it shoots from very long range, I'm very good with this gun, if anyone is shot like 2 miles away, it's me.
Right.
And then there's like someone is shot from like 2 miles away, it's like no one should, it was me, I can't believe it.
How did they know? Yeah, no, exactly. I think this can happen a lot too. I remember one of my big complaints was, I don't really give a shit about Overwatch anymore. Blizzard's like a failing company. But, I remember there's a character like Zarya, right? The big, strong woman with pink hair. And everyone they never said anything. I don't know what the current lore is, but when I was playing, there was no real lore about her romantic life, right? And everyone labeled her like a lesbian. Well, obviously she's a lesbian. I go, why?
Yeah,
Can a big, strong muscle woman not love dick? Right?
Yeah,
like, what's going on here? And I always like to imagine that she was not only straight, but married to just like a normal guy who wears like sweater vests.
Yeah.
And he's not like a little wimpy guy. He's just like a normal guy. He's like Mr. Rogers style, but if Mr. Rogers was young. Just like a normal dude.
It's like, sorry, let's talk through this.
Yeah. Just like a normal guy. And I was like, it's not because I have a problem if they're homosexual. It's that's always what it is.
Yeah.
If they're big, strong women with short hair, then they must be homosexual. Maybe muscle women deserve heterosexuality too.
Yeah. I never had any preconceived note. It's like all I knew was that the president called her one time to do one thing, and that was like the cinematic she was in for like the stage.
Right.
It was like the rest of it was like, I don't know. It feels like some people like to force like a side story to people, and then are very disappointed if like the creators don't jive with it or whatever.
Well, more to my point really is it's not even about the fact that people forced it on it. It's the fact that it was the same one as always.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's that I don't have a problem that this character is gay or this character is straight. I don't really give a shit, right? People's individual sexuality means almost nothing to me. It's just that the fact that you saw it coming and you're like, of course, this is what you've decided because that's what it always is.
Yeah.
Right? And so that same thing is with any writing. It's like, I don't need you to subvert my expectations all the time, but also could you like ever do anything different?
Could you? Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like for a while there, the hero always got the girl. So then now the hero never gets the girl. And I'm like, okay, well now give me back the hero gets the girl. You know what I mean? Right? Or the girl gets the guy. How about that? How about I get to play a main character and she's like a cool roguish type and she gets the prince at the end? That would be cool.
That would be cool.
What if the prince gets kidnapped by like an evil woman? And like she wants to marry him to force him to take over the country, and you, as the hot roguish girl, have to go like kick ass and get your cool boyfriend back.
Yeah. I was thinking of a female version of Mario. I couldn't think of one.
But then they don't do that. Instead, they'd make it, well, it's your girlfriend. This is actually a gay story. And it's like, that's fine. I don't have a problem with
That's fine, but
what? But this other thing doesn't exist ever.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that one. I've seen that one where the girl gets the girl. But how about the girl gets the guy?
Yeah.
I don't need the cool streetwise, Flynn Rider to get the princess. I want to see like the cool streetwise Francesca Rider get the prince,
Because in a way you're kind of doing the cliche but avoiding avoiding like saying that by changing the gender of just the main character. It's the same story.
Well, it's the same story because it's a good story. Like so it's a very human motivator. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand, but
like my point is I'm not saying it always has to be this way. I'm saying that like if you do one thing too many times in a row, it's uninteresting, and you don't have to do a lot to change it up.
yeah,
But there are certain change ups we just never see. How about, you know what? I like Super Princess Peach. Let her go rescue Mario. That's a good one.
What if you just play as Bowser trying to kidnap Peach?
Give me the Legend of Link. Zelda goes, gets her boyfriend back.
Oh yeah, like the Tears of the Kingdom everyone wanted.
Yeah, I would have loved that. I would have loved the Tears of the Kingdom. You play as Zelda. After he saved my ass, he got kidnapped by another bad guy. Now I, Princess Zelda, with the fattest ass Nintendo has ever released, have to go get my boyfriend back.
Yeah,
That's the best game idea this decade.
Yeah. Well, I am a genius.
I mean, Zelda is the person who, throughout the story of the first one, was investigating all this shit.
Right.
So why doesn't she get to...
Yeah, you were just tagging along while she was the one investigating. And then, shit happened and you got like put in the cryo tube.
And then she was like in trouble and needed your help and couldn't do anything the entire first game. Why can't she do stuff the second game?
Yeah, why not? I mean, there's only so many stories that can be told, but sometimes you just get into like this cliche of doing the same one over and over and over and over. And then a new thing comes around, it becomes really popular, and then you do that over and over and over and over. It's kind of like angels are bad and demons are good. It's like, that's kind of boring. How about the demons are just bad?
Yeah.
I'm not even religious, and I understand the complaint that it's like, oh, look, church bad again. What a surprise. Like, I get it. Like, it's how many times do you have to tell that story? Maybe the cleric is a good guy on your team.
Maybe the cleric is trying his best. He's really
just a good guy who wants to save the world. Well, it's kind of like in Free Ren, right?
Yeah.
I like the fact that the priest was just a good guy.
Yeah.
He was just a good guy. Yeah, an alcoholic, but a good guy. He died a good guy.
Yeah, I like a lot of things Free Ren does because it feels like it's not trying to do anything special, but in a lot of ways it does things that make sense
that you don't see often.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you this. The Zoltrak story, I really liked how they did that.
Oh, Zoltrak.
Yeah, when they it went through and she was explaining how this guy had killed like millions of wizards
with the greatest like attack spell ever.
Yeah, the greatest attack spell ever. She unsealed him and then he attacked her and it's like, what is this? This is just a regular attack spell.
Yeah, but this is 1,000 years later, idiot. Everybody's figured out.
Yeah, but that's not normally the case.
Right, that's not normally the case. Normally he would still have the greatest spell ever, rather than it being like, yeah, you've been in prison for not 1,000 years, it was like 100 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, or not even 100, I don't know, 80. Yeah, it was 80 years. It's like, dude, it's been 80 years. In that time period, everybody had time to learn your spell, and then learn how to counter your spell.
And I thought,
and now it's a basic spell. It's just magic missile.
Yeah, that was such a cool moment for me because it made so much sense, and I wish more magic systems did that. Because it wasn't even like Freyren was like an all-powerful wizard. She even said that she couldn't beat him. It was that everyone kind of came together. This is a problem that's killing a bunch of people. Let's fix this.
Well, it's more like what happened is he still lost. She couldn't have killed him, but she could seal him.
Yeah.
But that was then. Now she can, because then she does. She just uses his own spell on him and kills him. That's because this spell was crazy powerful and they were in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
Nobody had the ability to learn it.
Yeah.
But now the war was over. Now they can take the time to learn the spell. Now that they understand the spell, they can also learn what defends against it. Now they know what defends against it. That spell becomes more like, well, it's actually pretty straightforward. It's just kind of a straight line attack spell.
Yeah.
And you slowly start to realize that because when you look at them, they use that spell a lot, but when they use it, it like curves and swoops and they do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But when he uses it, it's just a straight line.
Yeah.
But when in the era that he used it in, magic wasn't as developed and this was like cutting edge technology.
Yeah. It's the musket compared to the machine gun.
Right. Yeah. It was like you use a musket now and I'm wearing, my Kevlar, like,
it was like
that hurt, but like I'm good. Yeah. Then I'd pull out just my like normal pistol, and I'm just like bang, bang, bang.
It was like it went through his like what iron thing. It's like
Yes, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, it's really good the way it does that. I think Freerun does a really good job of treating it like it's a real world where time progresses.
yeah,
And things change as time progresses.
because a lot of the problems I have when magic systems are brought up is that the old stuff is just always the best stuff.
Yeah, for some reason, ancient magic is just better than modern magic.
It's not as good as the way it used to be. It's like they're like the 1950s like boomers who are like damn, back in my time.
If only we still had to crank the engine of our automobile to start it.
It was so much better.
That made cars better. When the top speed was 30, that's when you knew vehicles were good.
Yeah, it feels like writers are often in that spot when they write magic.
Yeah, they just want you to like. It's like they want to go to ancient, like I don't know, ancient Greece and dig up an old library and find the plans for a space laser. That the Greeks always had for some reason.
It's like,
why? I don't know.
I was like, they were just better back then.
They were just better back then. Yeah. Go to ancient Sumer and you find like the world's greatest medicine that for some reason didn't stop them all from dying.
This AI computer that existed forever is like just better than anything we've ever created.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like that is I agree. It's always like ancient stuff is always better. What I usually like with ancient stuff is more like they just made some cool stuff that is still cool now. It maybe not, nobody's mass producing this, but this individual thing is cool.
It's like, oh, this is an idea we never really thought of. It just like it helps us progress much faster, but it isn't more advanced that we have.
Yeah, when I run a lot, I think there's a setting I used to run for D&D where there was a place where it was because there was a different race that existed before the current races. And the reason that their technology was better was literally because everything went back to the Stone Age after that own race wiped itself out. And then the storyline is literally like there was one race and then they acted really stupid and got them all selves killed. And it's that the information is still there, but nobody has a means to understand the language. So they're still reverse engineering it because what happened is it's a setting with a real god. And the god was really sad that these people wiped themselves out and made more people out of being sad that this other race died. Because couldn't bring them back, but could like make new ones. Yeah. But the new ones started on the Stone Age. So they had to start over again. And as they learned the things that the other ancient race knew, they just like incorporate it and actually end up making better stuff. Yeah. And because like it's like, well, we developed different technology, but they had a really good understanding of like magical energy. And I want to run my like airship. Right now I'm burning coal, but what if I could stick a battery in it? Oh, they knew how to make batteries. Well, what if I made a better battery? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I like that. I think you can do that. Yeah. But when it's just old things are always better, it's like, that's not as interesting. Also, especially because it's like, well, this isn't even like a post-apocalyptic rebuild. This is just the guys 10,000 years ago just had better stuff. They're the same race as you. They just forgore for some reason.
I also sometimes hate it when like, oh, this like ironsmith has been working his entire life. He's like really working on his craft. This dwarf shat himself and he like dropped his hammer.
This was so funny. This was brought up the other day. My friend brought this up. He was because I said, I just don't really like dwarves, and the reason is because like I don't think anybody knows what to do with them. Yeah. People really like Warhammer dwarves, and then they just are like, okay, so I made a dwarf. Oh, you made a dwarf? Like what's his name? Was his name Grungy Alebeard? Okay, and he likes like rocks. He likes when you use a hammer to make the rocks into like other things.
Because all dwarfs they're just...
And he just like hates elves. Oh, daring today, aren't we? Why does he hate elves? How they is.
Yeah. Hey, because all dwarves are they're just racist engineers. They're just racist human engineers who are shorter. That's it.
Yeah, and like to get drunk.
Yeah.
Which engineers do, so that's pretty on track. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's like, show me the dwarf druid. Take me to the dwarf village in the forest, where they like, I don't know, their main industry is dairy products. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, show me the elf blacksmith.
Yeah. Why not? Because all elves, whenever they come up, they're just vegans.
Yeah. Which is why they suck.
Yeah.
And you hate them automatically.
Because they're just stuck up vegans. That's all.
Listen, I've spent 10,000 years sitting in my garden eating grass.
And then shitting in my yard, growing more shit.
That's how you know I'm better. There's a fairy, and the fairy likes me. That's how you know I'm good. Do I have a penis or a vagina? You can't tell.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, no, it's
Just lie.
lithe. He rolls his eyes lithely.
You've never seen facial hair in your life or whatever. Like,
Yeah. Oh, ooh, female dwarves have beards? Ooh, wow, really creative.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that sometimes those stereotypes can be fun to lean into, but I think that leaning into them is at its best when you're using them as a means to lean away from them at the same time. It's like, okay, like dwarves, it's like, okay, you've got a setting with a pantheon and like different gods favored like different humans for like XYZ reasons. And the god of craftsmanship and like the earth favored the dwarves. And so he really pushed them towards sort of his things. But like now you're in a major metropolitan area and here's like this old dwarf and his apprentices are like a human and an elf. You know what I mean? And like, it's like, okay, cool. And it's like, he's not racist. He's just old.
Because the problem I have with like calling them different races is they're just people in different climates.
Oh, I had this conversation at lunch today.
Because
I looked at Michael because he remembers. Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead, finish your thought.
Because you're just talking about people from different regions. These are just humans.
Yeah. This happened. So I play on this medieval server for Space Station 13. You know it,
Vanderlin, yeah.
I've talked about it on the podcast before. And an argument happened in the Vanderlin Discord a few days ago, maybe a week ago, where people were just saying, personally, I find the like racism in the setting to be, I don't like it. And I wish the lore writers would stop trying to, and like admins would stop trying to like force people to participate. Yeah. And at some point, people were like, well, it's speciesism, not racism. And I made an argument. I said, when is it? Can you tell me when it is? When a black person, like you've got a human king, he's white, and then the blacksmith, who is a black man, walks in to make a request into the courtroom. When is the last time the king has spat on him and kicked him out for being black? 0 times. It's never happened. But if the town blacksmith is a half-orc and walks in, then he does do that. This is true across the board. Nobody pays attention to race in the setting because a mountain elf and a coastal elf don't fight over the fact that they're different colored elves. They're both elves and they hate dwarves. So, the reality is that you have supplanted race for species. Yeah. It is therefore the same thing. It is a cope to say otherwise.
Because let's be honest, the elves, like society, whenever they mention them, they're not any different from humans. They're not like acting like ants or bees or whatever. They don't have a queen that
like shits out eggs and like everybody's like,
it's like their whole reproductive system works like a human's reproductive system.
Well, that's why they're called half elves because they're half human. When you have if 10% of your population is half elves, you start to ask questions about species.
Yeah, because like it's not like someone is going and like there's like a baboon. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. You're not just like, oh, that's just literally like an orangutan in the
that's not what's happening. Right. Here. Like
the local like a 4-legged horse is not holding a hammer in its teeth and hitting the hitting the anvil to make your sword.
All like elves and dwarves are doing is they're kind of just segmenting racism in like a way that's more digestible to you. It's still racism in like the normal sense of the word.
And I remember because my argument was, I'm not saying that like some level of bigotry in the world lore makes the world more interesting to engage with.
It adds color.
Well, it adds color. but like it means that there's a dynamic. Conflict comes from disagreement. If this guy's like bigoted and this guy isn't, and then they fight, that's like an interest that creates a story. Yeah. Right. But to pretend that you have that it's speciesism, it's different. It's like, no, you are coping because you yourself would feel really bad if it was actual racism like we have in today's age.
Yeah.
So you've tried to create an environment where you don't feel that way. But when someone else does, that offends you because you feel that them saying, I just still don't feel comfortable because to me, it still just feels like regular racism. You take that to go, well, I'm not a bad guy because it's speciesism. And it's like, you're not a bad guy. Leonardo DiCaprio is not a bad guy because he said the N-word a million times in Django Unchained.
Yeah.
He was playing a character. You're allowed to do that. But if you say to someone, do you want to play Mr. Candy in Django Unchained and say the N-word and kill some black people? And you go, I don't think I'm comfortable with that role. If everyone's like, oh my God, you lack whimsy. It'd be like, no, and people are going to go, I understand. We wanted you for the role, but I understand. It takes a certain kind of person to be comfortable playing that kind of villain.
Yeah.
And that's okay if you can, but it should also be okay if you can't.
Yes.
And so your point that we've just sort of decided, my favorite one is that dark elves, like drow, are treated with racism in the setting. And I remember one time I challenged someone. I said, okay, listen, I get it. You're saying that people are racist against tieflings because tieflings are literally like spawned by demon blood, right? And half orcs cause a lot of problems. So people hate them because they're like troublemakers. Can you describe to me, if I'm an elf and I'm the princess, and then I want to hire this dark elf as my bodyguard, and we both worship the same god, and you say, cover your face, you disgusting creature, to the dark elf, I just want to understand, what is the difference between my character and that character? Well, they're a dark elf. Okay, what is the difference between my character and a dark elf? Well, I'm white, and they're not. Drawn some parallels. This actually happened in game once because I was I was playing a princess in that round, and I had a bunch of nobles try to hit on me, and my mom really wanted me to get married to someone, and then she grabbed a dark elf and was like, "What about this chick?" And I was like, "It was a character I've played with a million times." I was like, "Sure, whatever, sure, they sound good. They're not like a stinky guy from this country I don't like." My character is very nationalist. Right. Just not racist. And so I remember they were like, well, the reason I'm okay with it, even though they're a dark elf, is because dark elves are, if any, they're closer to elves than humans would be. And then I was like, well, Mom, they are elves, actually. They're just elves who live in caves. And then she was like, oh yeah, I'm even more right now. And that was my point, right? Is like, it's this total writing trick where they're like, no, it's not racism, it's speciesism. There is no Dark elves, literally your own lore was that they used to live above ground before a great catastrophe happened and they became cave elves. Like, you're literally just telling me that this is the same exact race.
The only difference...
So it's literally racism. Your own argument that it's speciesism is wrong.
The only difference is that we've become more accustomed to the different features. And in fact, we've kind of inherited it because more people have kind of mixed and matched over the years. But there were still different facial features. There were still like different... People were taller in different regions of the world.
There's a lot of different things. Different color hair, different color eyes, different color skin, bigger noses, smaller lips, bigger lips. Yeah. All taller, shorter.
We've kind of weirdly... by exaggerating it more, making orcs and such, trying to kind of...
We're kind of trying to recreate those those isolated genetic groups that no longer exist as much.
Yeah.
They still exist, but not to the same degree.
It's harder to notice.
Right. It is harder to notice for a variety of reasons, including just the fact that we've got a very diverse, at least here where we live, a very diverse, population
who's just fucked each other a lot.
I'll never forget, I had this friend I made online, and I remember they literally told me, because where they live is like super rural, and they were like, I'm gonna be honest, until I like joined your community and like hung out in voice chat, I just had like never spoken to a black person before. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, they're like, I know it sounds weird, and I'm like feel uncomfortable saying it. I'm like, well, it's not, you shouldn't feel bad. Like,
Yeah.
there's no black people where you are. There's no black people.
You
right?
have no control over that.
You have no control over that. But, you know, it's interesting because I realized that a lot of the time when I argue with people online, their background is super different from mine because, you know, you and I, we live here. This is a super metropolitan area and it's like super immigrated into, and it has been for like well before we were born.
Yeah.
So you've got all these different families and different racial groups and even mixed families and mixed racial groups because this area is so metropolitan. And so, you know, I look at my own friend group, right? And it's like, you're Middle Eastern, Mike's, you know, mostly what, Irish, Polish, and I'm German, right? And I'm like German British, right? And then like, you know, my spouse is like Black Chinese, and like, you know, our other friend is Filipino. And then I was just at lunch today with my Jewish friend, right? And so it's like, this is our core friend group that meets up for like Halloween and Christmas and everything.
Yeah.
And to me, it never occurred to me until those kinds of conversations online that this wasn't just how friend groups were everywhere.
It's also weird because early on in America, being Irish and coming to America was such a huge deal. That was like the incoming race. That was the people you were racist against.
Right.
Now,
Well, before that it was Italians.
before that was Italians. It was like Protestants or whatever. And it's so weird looking back at how, although people are still have like weird issues with immigrants, how more tolerant we were than before.
Well, it's because now they're more different, right? So like
Yeah.
before it was like, well, I'm mostly like British, and now it's the Irish, and I don't like the Irish. Oh, well, we can both agree that we're from like the British Isles, and those guys are from like Italy, which we don't like, right? Well, these people are brown, and we're all like the same skin tone. So, you know, yeah, you're Italian, but like, ooh, those browns, ooh, right? And so now we're all like, well, you know, I grew up around like black people, Italians, Irish, British, whatever. I grew up around this, but like those Middle Easterners, that's, you know, I'm feeling like ooh, you know, actually I skipped over the Chinese there, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's this pattern of like, they're different until a more different person comes along and then they're your ally. Well, actually I don't dislike the Chinese because they're still like kind of light skinned and like have a lot of our same cultural
And I like
values.
Chinese food.
I do like Chinese food, but like, ooh, these like Middle Easterners, they got that Islam. That's pretty scary. You know what I mean? And so like, you can keep that pattern going.
I kind of wish we'd stop it because at some point, I do believe aliens exist, and I'd wish we wouldn't do that.
And you'd like them to show up and not think they're going to instantly be like kicked off the planet.
Well, no, because then we'll be racist against them.
Oh, then we'll all be on the same team. Well, at least we're all human. Right?
Then they're
but the Glorbos are like, they have 3 arms. That's fucking weird, bro. Why do they got the chest arm?
Then they're actually
Freaking
illegal
3 arms.
aliens.
Freaking 3ers.
Well, at least they have arms. Like, you know, the Slorbos have all like
They're just like slimy. Like, the Slorbos, they're like slug creatures, and that's fucked up. At least these guys have arms, you know.
Well, at least we're all carbon-based life forms, but the plastic bags.
These guys breathe rocks.
I hate this. At least us oxygen breathers can all agree that these freaking rock breathers are taking our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You can always go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It really never ends. Yeah, these things that can handle living in a vacuum, like we all live in a vacuum, we all live in a not vacuum environment, but these vacuum-based life forms are fucked up.
Yeah, we have to like.
We got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
How dare they wear enviro suits? You freaking suitor.
Non-physical voices that live in my head they gotta go.
They gotta go.
They're fucking disgusting.
Yeah, you can keep going down the rabbit hole. You know, the point here is like I just think it's the extent people will go to try to like justify what they want. And then you're like, listen, I'm not even saying anything should change. I'm just telling you that you're coping and you are being rude to people who don't feel the same way as you. You're using terms like room temp IQ to describe a person who just doesn't agree with you, that they don't want to do this and they wish you'd stop trying to make them do it. That's all they're saying. They're not saying you can't do it. They're saying, I really wish you'd stop trying to make me do it. and you call them room temp IQ and saying they lack whimsy. And then when they say, well, it's just racism and I don't want to, it's okay that it's in the setting, but I'm not interested in participating. Yeah. And then it's like, well, it's not racism. It's speciesism.
It's weak shit. You know, if I want to be racist, I'm just going to say I'm going to be racist right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, stop trying to convince me to agree with you. Just like...
Listen, I'm about to say every slur.
Please don't. I don't want us to get banned off YouTube. We've barely gone anywhere. Let's not end their careers right now. Well, you'll probably get away with it. You're not white, so... You're really pale, but that's just because you don't go outside enough.
Yeah. I'm a gamer. The gamer slur.
I'm a gamer.
With the hard R.
With the hard R. Yeah. Well, we got way off topic from fucking Hollow Knight. How did we fucking end up here? I mean, I know we're always guilty of this, but damn. I don't know how. It's because I got angry at Michael, and that's where it all went wrong.
Yeah, it's Michael's fault.
I blame Michael.
Always.
As always.
My diversity improved the podcast.
Yeah, this is my diversity improvement plan.
I can't believe the Irish ruined this podcast.
I can't believe the Irish ones. We both can agree, fellow person, that the real problem is the Irish.
Yeah.
Wait. Is it the Irish part or the Polish part? Both have been discriminated against.
Ooh, good call. Well, I do like St. Patrick's Day, so
Kielbasa's good.
Kielbasa is pretty good. This is getting difficult.
I can't eat pork, so I'm gonna say it's the Polish part. You can go with the Irish part yourself. So we both have our own ways to hate Michael. I think that's a good.
Oh, that's a good idea. And then we can team up on just disliking both halves.
Yeah, we won't tell each other what makes us hate Michael.
Only that we do.
Yeah.
This is equality.
This is equality.
True equality.
When a brown guy and a white guy come together to hate the Irish Polish.
Yeah.
This is, and welcome to Vanderlin.
I think this is a positive way to end the stream.
Good way to end the show. Yeah. The stream. Yeah, we're live right now.
You'll be hearing from the lawyers because of my 1/16 Native American heritage. Thank you.
The government doesn't care about that.
Shit.
All right. Well, if you made it to the end and you didn't turn it off because you're highly offended, then you're a real based Chad. And the other guys are cringe beta cucks. I hope you enjoyed this episode, whenever it fucking comes out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.